Breaking as we come on the air at 3. New images from Tropical Storm Dorian in the Atlantic. This image snagged by the International Space Station, and you could just barely see the I formation. And thank you for joining us. I'm Luli Ortiz. With South Florida now in the cone of uncertainty for Dorian, we're bracing for weekend showers and possible flooding. Let's get right over to CBS 12 senior meteorologist John Matthews. Now, Dorian is going to be a rainmaker for us.
It looks like it. So far, it's not being forecast as a hurricane, but that could change, so don't hold on to that right now. Remember, we're only on Tuesday. Here it is. We're out in the deep Atlantic. Of course, there's that trough that gave us all the clouds and showers this weekend. That continues to pull away. So we're looking at Tropical Storm Dorian right now with winds just under the threshold of hurricane, but at 50-mile-an-hour winds. That'll pick up pretty fast if it gets moving along. Right now it's moving to the west-northwest at 13 miles an hour. There's a pressure on it at 70 miles west-northwest of Martinique. By the way, that was a cool picture you got there from outer space there, Lou. I love that. Anyway, our story is it continues to track, and here's the newest track as of this afternoon. It's Friday. It's way out far out to the southeast of the Bahamas, but that could change. Remember, that cone of uncertainty means it could be down here by Sunday at 8 o'clock in the morning, or it could be farther north. Right now, the tracks are taking it farther to the north of Vero Beach. Don't hold on to that now. That could change. But so far, we're seeing that as still as a tropical storm, but it's right there. Remember, the number is 74 miles an hour sustained winds to become a hurricane, so it's right there on the edge. And nonetheless, with 70-mile-an-hour winds, no matter where that should make landfall, here or farther north, it still will have an effect on us with lots of clouds and showers around as we head into Labor Day weekend. We'll talk more about that, and we'll show you the rain that's setting up right now on the radar that's coming to town this afternoon. I'll be back in a minute. Lily?
And right now you're looking live at Eagle Beach in Aruba. While the skies may have a few clouds, the winds are starting to pick up just a bit. Now, meanwhile, in Puerto Rico is under a state of emergency due to Dorian. Officials put the island under a hurricane watch as well. People there are still recovering from Hurricane Maria. Now they're making their last-minute preparations ahead of Dorian's approach tomorrow night. Now, today, both Governor Ron DeSantis and Senator Rick Scott commented on Dorian's possible impacts to Florida. Governor DeSantis urged Floridians to prepare for flooding, strong winds, and rough surf, while Senator Scott says that he's reached out to Puerto Rico and the U.S. is ready to help in whatever way is needed. Now remember, CBS 12 News is the one to turn to for severe weather coverage. We will send you an alert straight to your phone when we get that new advisory. Now just download CBS 12 News weather app from your app store. Developing right now, almost 2 years after the deaths of 12 patients due to sweltering conditions inside a Hollywood nursing home, a look at the 4 faces that are charged in their deaths. Now, the rehabilitation center's administrator and night shift supervisor face the most charges, 12 counts of aggravated manslaughter each. Now, 2 nurses also face several manslaughter counts, in addition to charges that they tampered with patient medical records. Now, police would not discuss specific evidence that led to today's charges, but they say their long investigation determined that this was not an accident or act of nature, but a crime and a violation of trust.
The 4 individuals now facing criminal charges failed to take the actions needed to protect their patients and render aid at a time when they needed it the most. We analyzed more than 1,000.
And police say this investigation is not over and they do expect more arrests. Alleged victims of Jeffrey Epstein had a chance to speak in court today, angry that the late financier's suicide has robbed them of justice. Now, their dramatic statements come as a judge moves to dismiss Epstein's sex trafficking case. Tom Hansen reports from the courthouse in New York.
Women who claim Jeffrey Epstein sexually abused them spoke outside a Manhattan courthouse after a judge gave them the unusual opportunity to be heard in court.
Today is a day of power and strength.
I wanted to thank the judge for letting us speak, having some closure. It's still going to be a rough road, but I also wanted to thank all the survivors that had reached out to me as well.
One accuser, Courtney Wild, who says the financier sexually abused her when she was 14, called him a coward and said in court she feels very angry and sad that he killed himself before going to trial on sex trafficking charges. A coroner ruled Epstein's death in his jail cell earlier this month a suicide by hanging. But at Tuesday's hearing, one of Epstein's lawyers challenged that, saying an expert hired by the family said injuries to his neck were more consistent with homicide than suicide. The judge said he included Epstein's accusers in Tuesday's hearing to dismiss the charges because of their relevant experiences.
It was both empowering and infuriating to know that the person who I needed to hear those words is not here to hear them.
The wealthy financier had pleaded not guilty to the charges. He signed a will just 2 days before his death, putting more than $500 million in assets into a trust fund. The will is expected to make it more difficult for the accusers to collect damages. Tom Hansen, CBS News, New York.
Now, new revelations in the decades-old case against Epstein. About 2,000 pages of documents newly obtained by CBS12 News detail the evidence state prosecutors used when they first investigated him back in 2005. They have never before seen images and never before heard revelations. CBS 12's Jay O'Brien reports.
We're still combing through what is a mountain of evidence tied to Jeffrey Epstein, but one of the things we found was this, a call to police that a woman made when she found out her stepdaughter may have been involved with Epstein. It helped propel this entire investigation forward.
And he's a gentleman by the age of 45.
This call is from the Epstein investigation files. It's from a woman who claims she was a victim's stepmother. She says young women were allegedly paid to do things with an older man on Palm Beach.
Over $300.
The Palm Beach police officer tells the woman this is the first she's hearing of something like this. The stepmother says at least one young woman is bringing others.
She brings in girls, very young. They start off by giving this gentleman a massage.
This call came in a cache of other documents, like interviews between Epstein's victims and police.
He told me I would just take my shirt off and give him a massage, and that would be it.
Topless or with the bra?
Topless.
And documents found in Epstein's home like this one, a note to send a bouquet of roses to Royal Palm Beach High School, a place that a former victim's lawyer called a recruiting ground. There is still, as we mentioned, a lot more to go through, and we will continue to do that for you. Tonight, starting at 5 p.m., we'll continue our coverage with a look inside what appears to be Jeffrey Epstein's Palm Beach estate. In the studio, I'm Jay O'Brien, CBS 12 News.
A big story we're following, the historic Amazon wildfires. Now, Brazil's leader says that the country will solve its own problems and turn down a $20 million donation from the G7 summit. Now, the president has accused rich countries of treating the region like a colony. He said Brazil would not accept the aid until French President Emmanuel Macron apologizes for comments he made. And scientists say that there's so much moisture in the Amazon, it helps cool the planet, and the fire could cause irreversible damage. Now, each day at this time, we ask you the question of the day. Now, today's question is, this silly activity is banned at the military academy point. Now, your first hint, it's not dabbing. My producer, Beverly, is so happy right now. Stay with us as we reveal the answer at the end of the newscast. Now, who run the world? Girls, and Barbie is on board. The new additions to Barbie's collections when they hit the shelves.